technical issues, breakdown in communication, either myself or the licensing authority join the email address you have provided. Alternatively, please try to rejoin by clicking the link sent to you by the licensing department or myself via the Teams meeting request. If anyone loses connection, the hearing will stop until the party has rejoined. I'll now pass you over to the Chair, Councillor Penny Matthews.
Good morning, everyone. Please, can everyone make sure their mics are on mute because there's been some feedback. I wish to welcome everybody this morning. The officer will be taking us through the procedure shortly, but before that we go to our legal officer who will outline the route we're taking today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Davis. I'm one of the lawyers of the local authority. Welcome to this Statutory Licensing Committee, which has been held under the Licensing Act 2003 and with the hearing regulations of 2005, and as permitted by the local authorities coronavirus meetings Wales regulations in relation to this remote meeting. Consideration will also be given to the IOL protocol for licensing applications, hearings also under the Licensing Act 2003, and reference will be made to the April 2018 guidance and to the local authority's own policy as reviewed in July 2018. Links to each of these have been included within the report. As already stated, please ensure that you mute all of your microphones and then remember to unmute them only when you're called to speak. Please do not interrupt persons while they are speaking, as per the procedure which I will set out shortly. To confirm, all comments should be relevant to the promotion of the licensing objectives and to the relevant purpose of this committee. This committee will hear and take into consideration all relevant parties' views on the application being made. This committee's purpose is not to scrutinise past or future decisions which are not relevant to this application as per the objectives. All applications and comments would be considered on their own merits and in accordance with the licensing policy. As a point, if persons making representations do sway away from the purpose as set out, I will respectfully interject and query the direction and relevance of the comment made as per the above stated. As I've already said, if any of you, well, actually I haven't said this, but as stated, if any of you have any issues with your bandwidth, I would suggest that you turn off your video and attend via audio only. Now, as I said, that I would set out the summary procedure. It will start with the officer reading out the report and council members will ask questions of the officer. Then any responsible authorities will read out the representations, such as any South Wales police matters. Again, councillors will ask questions. Then representations from interested parties, as per those contained in Appendix E of the report, will be taken into account. There are a number of parties who have provided written representations who are not attending. As stated, they are set out within the report. I do not propose that they will be read because they have been seen by all members and all parties relevant. However, those interested parties who have responded to the notice in hearing have been invited to expand on their representation as part of the hearing. I have a list of the persons who have responded to the notice of hearing and are attending. When we get to that section, myself or someone in the room will invite those persons to speak individually. And I will also indicate the page numbers within the pack as to where those representations are, so that persons do not need to repeat what they've already said in writing. Finally, the applicant will make their application. We will allow the applicant to share their screen to provide any of the photographs or videos or plans in which they may wish to comment on. again, councillors will ask questions. Finally, there will be an open discussion when parties can ask questions through the chair by using a hand symbol. So please do not simply speak, raise your hand on the top bar and wait to be asked to provide your information. I don't believe that South Wales Police would have any final submissions because they would have dealt with them earlier, but the applicant will be able to provide any last submissions. Now, included in that, they may wish to put forward any additional conditions which that have been brought to the forefront during the committee. The committee then will be closed at that time to the public, to licensing officers and the applications, and you will all be asked to exit the meeting, while the members will go into private deliberations with myself for advice. No further information or deliberations are needed. A decision will then be sent out. I think in respect of today's matter, in light of the multiple, or the possible length, I think the decision will be provided possibly 5 days from today. This is the procedure I set out. Can I look for any nods of heads to see that the persons are happy with as commented?
You get it properly.
There we are. I'll pass you to Ms. Samantha Boom for the introductions.
Thank you, Craig. I'll now call out the name of all present. Please can you repeat your name and don't forget to unmute your microphone. Please can I respectfully ask you not to speak unless you are asked to. If you wish to speak during this committee, please either use your hand symbol or type a message to say that you wish to speak. Please remain on mute until invited to speak. Please can I also remind you to ensure that you have access to the report and the attachments. I'll now ask Councillor Peggy Matthews, Chair, to introduce herself formally. I'll go through the committee members, officers, applicants, representatives and the residents who wish to speak. So, Councillor Matthews.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As I said, my name is Councillor Peggy Matthews. I will be chairing this morning, and I will be joined in the committee by two other councillors, Councillor Bridget Rowlands and Councillor Hazel Morris. I think at this point I hand back to Ms. Rowlands.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowlands, would you please introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Councillor Bridget Rowlands and I'll be sitting on this committee this morning.
Thank you. Councillor Hazel Morris. Councillor Morris, would you mind unmuting your microphone, please?
Yes, it's unmuted. I'm Councillor Morris. I'll be on this committee this morning.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. As stated previously, my name is Samantha Woon. I'm the Democratic Services Officer. You've already heard my colleague Craig Davis speak this morning. He's sat alongside me. Can I ask licensing officers please to introduce themselves? Mrs. Yvonne Lewis.
Thank you, Sam. I'm Yvonne Lewis. I'm the team leader for licensing for the council.
Thank you. This is Rachel Loosemore, please.
Hi, thanks, Sam. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Loosemore. I've been dealing with the application and I'll be taking you through the report this morning.
Thank you. I'll go through now the applicants' representatives. And we have Ewan McGregor, please.
Good morning. My name's Ewan McGregor, TLT, and representing the applicant.
Thank you so much. Lisa Mart.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Mart and I'm General Manager of Swansea Arena.
Thank you so much. Laura Capel-Harding, please.
Good morning, I'm Laura Capel-Harding. I'm the Operations Manager for Swansea Arena.
Thank you so much. Claire Dixon.
Hello, good morning. Claire Dixon, Business Director for ATG, the operator of Swansea Arena.
Thank you. Paul Lafan, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name correctly.
That's fine. Good morning, Paul Lafan. I'm a Risk Manager and Security Lead for ATG, operator of the Swansea Arena.
Thank you. Lee Richards, please.
Thanks, Sam. I'm Lee Richards. I'm the Physical Regeneration Manager for the City and County Swansea. I'm responsible for delivery of major projects in and around Swansea, including Copper Bay.
Thank you. We have South Wales Police representation, Mr. John Hancock.
Yeah, good morning. My name is John Hancock. I'm the Police Licensing Officer for South Wales Police, and I cover the city centre.
Thank you. I'll now run through the residents who are present wishing to make representations. Mr. Alan P. Lewis.
Hi, I'm Alan Lewis, resident of Victoria Quay.
Thank you. Mr. Gareth Edwards.
Hello, I'm a resident of Squire Court and also a director of Squire Court Management Company.
Thank you. Mr. John Williscroft. Do we have Mr. Williscroft? Okay, I'll come back to that name. Natalie and Anthony Smith.
Yeah, Natalie Smith, and I'm a resident of Squire Court.
Thank you so much. And Spencer Simmons. Do we have Mr. Simmons? No. Okay. Are there anybody else? Is there anybody else present that I haven't referred to?
I think Mr. Simmons is there.
Mr. Simmons, are you in the meeting?
Hello.
Hello there. Hi, Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Simmons. I'm from Squire Court, and I'm also a director of Squire Court Management Company.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you. We'll now go through to the formal part of the agenda. I'll pass you back to the chair, so we'll be going through our apologies, disclosures. Councillor Matthews.
Thank you. Hello again, everyone. We'd start off with apologies for absence.
No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. And disclosures of personal or prejudicial interests. Do any of the councillors have any, please?
Yeah. No officer of interest from any of the officers? No, thank you.
So now we pass you over to the licensing officer, who will take us through the papers, and we will all have a copy of these obviously at this stage. Okay, thank you.
Hi, good morning again. We're here today to hear the application for Swansea Arena, Oystermouth Road, Copper Bay, Swansea. The application for a new premises licence was received by the authority on the 29th of July 2021. The applicant has applied for a premises licence to allow the following licensed activities to take place: plays, films, indoor sport and events, boxing or wrestling, live music, recorded music, performance of dance, anything of a similar description to music or dance, supply of alcohol. All the activities are Monday to Sunday, 10 till 2 AM. Also, late night refreshment, Monday to Sunday, and that's 2300 hours to 0230. A copy of the application is at Appendix A, page 5 of the committee report for reference. The premises are situated off Oystermouth Road, Swansea, and is part of the Copper Bay development and regeneration in Swansea city centre, leading to Swansea Bay. The premises seeks to operate as a multifunctional arena, event and conference space with a capacity of up to 3,500. A location plan is attached to Appendix B, and that's at page 37 of this report. The Licensing Act 2003 contains 4 licence objectives, namely prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Each of these objectives are of equal importance, and the application must demonstrate how they are to be promoted. Conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule and will be attached to the licence if granted are attached to Appendix C. This is at page 38 of the report. A representation in support of the application has been received from South Wales Police. A copy of this representation is at Appendix D, and that's at page 46 of this report. No representations have been received from planning. However, a position statement has been submitted in relation to the planning for the premises. This is attached to Appendix F, page 90 of this report. Representations have been received from 32 other persons. Copies of these representations are attached to Appendix E, and that's at page 48 to 89 of this report. In considering this application, members should have regard to the current statement of licensing policy, which the link has been supplied in the report, and also the guidance issued by the Home Secretary, in particular. Introduction, Chapter 1, each application on its own merits. Each application must be considered on its own merits and in accordance with the Licensing Authority's Statement of Licensing Policy. For example, if the application falls in the scope of cumulative impact policy, conditions attached to licenses and certificates must be tailored to the individual type, location and characteristics of the premises and events concerned. This is essential to avoid the imposition of disproportionate and overly burdensome conditions on premises where there is no need for such conditions. Standardised conditions should be avoided and indeed made unlawful where they cannot be shown to be appropriate for promotion of the licence objectives in an individual case. Chapter 8, Applications for Premises Licences, Steps to promote the licence objectives. Applicants are, in particular, expected to obtain sufficient information to enable them to demonstrate, when setting out the steps they propose to take to promote the licence objectives, that they understand the layout of the local area and physical environment, including crime and disorder hotspots, proximity to residential premises and proximity to areas where children may congregate, any risks posed to the local area by the applicant's proposed licensed activities and any local initiatives, for example, local crime reduction initiatives or voluntary schemes, including local taxi marshalling schemes, street pastas and other schemes, which may help to mitigate potential risks. Applicants are expected to include positive proposals in their application how they will manage potential risks. Applicants are expected to provide licensing authorities with sufficient information in this section to determine the extent of which the proposed steps are appropriate to promote the licence objectives in the local area. Applications must not be based on providing a set of standard conditions to promote the licence objectives, and applicants are expected to make it clear why the steps you're proposing are appropriate for the premises. Chapter 9, Determine Applications. As a matter of practice, licensing authorities should seek to focus the hearing on the steps considered appropriate to promote the particular licence objectives or objectives they have given rise to specific representations and avoid straying into undisputed areas. A responsible authority or other person may choose to rely on their written representation. This may not add further representation so disclosed to the applicant prior to the hearing, but they must expand on their existing representation should be allowed sufficient time to do so, within reasonable and practical limits. The licensing authority should give a decision within 5 working days of the conclusion of the hearing or immediately in certain specified cases and provide reasons to support it. Chapter 10, Conditions attached to premises licences. The government acknowledges that different licensing strategies may be appropriate for the promotion of the licence objectives in different areas. The 2003 Act gives the licensing authority power to make decisions about the hours during which premises can conduct licensing activities as part of the implementation of its licensing policy statement. Licensing authorities are best placed to make decisions about appropriate opening hours in their area based on their local knowledge and in consultation with the responsible authorities. However, licensing authorities must always consider each application must not impose predetermined licence opening hours that give individual consideration and the merits of each application. In determining this application, this decision must be based on the individual merits of the application and the representations received, with promoting the licence objectives outlined in paragraph 5 of the report. In arriving at the decision, members should also have regard to the relevant provisions of the policy and guidance as previously provided. In reaching the decision, the committee must have regard to the representations, take such steps mentioned as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. They could grant the licence subject to conditions that reflect the operating schedule, modified to such extent as the authority considers appropriate for promotion of the licence objectives. Certain regulated entertainment under the Licensing Act 2003 as amended has been deregulated. Where entertainment is deregulated but licensed activities continue to take place on a premises, any licence conditions imposed on a grant of licence in respect of any deregulated entertainment would be suspended. Any mandatory conditions relevant to the licence, exclude any of the licensed activities to which the application relates, refuse to specify a person the licence of the premises supervisor, or reject the application. In view of the representations received, the licensing subcommittee's instructions are requested.
Can I just ask, has anybody on the committee got any questions for the officer, please?
Not at the moment, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rollins. Councillor Morris, have you got any questions, please? No? Okay, thank you. So from you, did Councillor Morris indicate?
I've got no more questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Morris. So from here now, we go back to, are you taking this? Yeah. So we go to the responsible authority, which would be in this case Mr. Hancock, who represents the police on this matter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. I can confirm that South Wales Police have considered this application in conjunction with a number of detailed site and online meetings held with the applicant surrounding the operational plan for the premises. The application is supported on the grounds that the premises is a multifunctional arena, enhancing and promoting the culture of the city. There is a detailed operating schedule which includes a number of conditions relating to event-specific management plans. This will allow South Wales Police to consider the expectations and risks for each event individually and ensure a robust and challenging approach with the applicant to ensure a safe operation. This is an approach which has proved to be extremely successful when dealing with other such events across the city. This detailed and robust approach will ensure the promotion of the licensed objectives of crime disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and protection of children from harm. The conditions held within the operating schedule have considered the operational needs of the arena, along with minimising noise and antisocial behaviour disruption to the local residents and the wider local community. Therefore, this application does not adversely affect the licence and objectives, and there were no other further police representations at this time. Thank you.
Questions from Mr. Hancock. Nobody's hand has gone up, so I'm assuming there aren't any. So okay, we go from here now to the applicant. Who's going to be speaking first, please? Do we know?
Mr. Lewis has raised his hand. Mr. Lewis, you asking a question of South Wales Police? You're on mute, sir. You're still on mute, sir.
You're on mute, Mr. Lewis. Continue.
Mr. Lewis, you are on mute.
Officer Hancock, has South Wales Police contacted any residents with reference to this application?
No, we haven't. We have considered the application on its merits. We've considered our experience within the locality based on the licence and objectives. So no, we have not contacted the residents directly.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are moving. My apologies, Councillor Rowlands.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask Officer Hancock, with regards to the policing of these events that will take place, how are you proposing to do that?
As outlined in the representations, a lot of it is going to depend on the event management plan and is going to be dependent on what the nature of the event is. It is expected that there will be a variety of different events held within the arena, all of which will have either require no police involvement or a managed level of police involvement, if you like. The agreement that we've had with the applicant and the operators going forward is that we will have an annual discussion in January to understand the full extent of the number of events per year, and we will have regular meetings with the operators in order to understand what events are coming and what risks are associated from those. That will then give us enough time from a policing perspective to put any plans in place, and also will actually put the onus back on the operator to ensure their operating plans are of sufficient standard for the event to go ahead safely. As I mentioned, this is the same approach that we do with other events such as Singleton Park, the Liberty Stadium, where they've got music events. And this approach seems to work very, very well, as it gives us that flexibility to identify any risks and deal with them at the earliest opportunity.
So you don't believe that people coming out of the arena at 2 o'clock in the morning, possibly have had a couple of drinks, are going to cause much of a problem to the surrounding area or the road or the residents living in the area?
With the greatest respect, I don't know. I expect there will be some sort of noise and disruption. That level, I don't know what that's going to be. The commitment I'm giving today is that should any issues arise, we are then able to work with the operator to change the event management plans to hopefully resolve any issues at the earliest opportunity. There will no doubt be some sort of issues in relation to antisocial behaviour, etc. But I can't put a figure on that, as you know, we've got no experience of it in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, hello. I can't believe the police don't anticipate being sort of more problems than normal. The recent event at Singleton Park, which is not close to residential area, caused pandemonium in Swansea, not just with the traffic, with the amount of youths that were littering, causing problems up in the uplands. And of course, this is very, very close to our bedrooms and our residential areas. Obviously, you know, to say that some of these people, for instance, will have had a few drinks is a massive understatement. A lot of youngsters who go to these live DJ events will be absolutely intoxicated coming out of that place. They will be coming from Wine Street, probably, I don't know, 11 o'clock or something like that, knowing they can drink until 2:30 in the morning. Now, it beggars belief that problems are not anticipated. I think there will be major problems.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that we're not anticipating problems. I'm saying I can't put a figure and a level on those level of issues. I'm hoping they will be kept to an absolute minimum, and that is something that we will work with the operators to try and resolve at the earliest opportunity. But again, I cannot predict levels of antisocial behaviour and noise, etc. I'm hoping that we've got the necessary processes in place to be able to deal with those matters should this application be granted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we are now moving into the section.
Excuse me, Chair, I have my hand up.
Oh, we couldn't see it.
Can't see it.
Oh, Miss Smith.
Yeah. Just to reiterate, really, my concerns that Gareth has also voiced. But for the police, you know, what level of quick response are you going to be able to guarantee if there are issues? We already know, and it's well documented, that throughout the summer months, and particularly at bank holidays, we have issues in the marina. And it's well documented the police are really, really slow to respond, and it's been a major problem for residents. So, and that's on a small scale. So, you know, what is the police capacity to be able to respond quickly and disperse problems when they arise, when they can't do it on a short-term, you know, basis in the marina area?
Yeah, I can't offer any guarantees, unfortunately. We are demand-led, so unfortunately we are subject to what calls and issues there are across the city. What we are looking to do and what we've sought to do with the applicant is to try and understand and get ahead of any potential issues by planning in advance. That's the reason behind the event management plan and the regular meetings that we will have, to identify whether there is a requirement for a police presence and at what level that will be, and indeed in relation to what times. We do have our after dark police teams that do support the nighttime economy, and I would expect that to be an extension that goes into certainly on a Saturday to help and cater for events at the arena. But again, it's that planning and preparation that we're looking for, so that we're hopefully not dealing with issues on the night, and we've planned ahead.
I've noticed that Spencer Simmons has got a hand raised.
Hi there. Same again, referring to the police. You have made a very bold statement in that you support this license approval. Will then the chief policeman then, when these problems happen and a serious event comes along, will he hold his hand up and resign? Because there is going to be problems, not if, when, and the police will have supported this application wholeheartedly without any reservation. Nobody knows what's going to happen regarding to the arena because it's the first in Swansea. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. So to be able to make a statement like that they fully agree and accomplish with this licensing application, I think is of the best foolhardy.
Mr. Simmons, what is your question?
Well, it doesn't. I cannot see how the police can just on what's been said wholeheartedly support this application. There has to be reservations.
Yeah, if I can just answer that, this isn't a case of us looking at the application and just agreeing with it. There has been a lot of detailed discussions that have gone into this process at a very early stage between South Wales Police and the operators and the management company. As I've stated, we've worked very hard to try and understand the views of the community and the expectations that are going to be placed on us. We're at this position now where we have submitted representation in support of the application. The applicant is under no illusion as what to expect from our perspective and the expectations that we've got of them. We've had quite blunt and detailed discussions about what we would expect and what we're expecting to see and their operation going forward. As I said, we've come to a conclusion that working together with this event management plan will hopefully allay issues at the earliest opportunity and allow us to plan.
Mr. Edwards,
yeah, it's just another question for the officer. What are your expectations? Obviously, we've got the Liberty Stadium, we've had Singleton Park, other events in the city. Obviously, this is unique, I suppose. It's right in the middle of the city centre, very, very close to residential buildings. What are your expectations?
My expectations and hope is that this is a very successful sort of operation going forward and will be welcomed by the city in general and be extremely successful. I'm hoping that the efforts that have gone into the process to date will actually prove to be successful. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not expecting issues. We will have issues. It's how we deal with those going forward. Some of those will relate to the police. Some of those will also relate to our partner agencies. And it's just working together along with the operators to ensure a successful event. Hopefully, this will actually be a benefit to the city of Swansea.
My last question then to you, officer. We've had a lot of antisocial behaviour here along Victoria Quay, in particular up at what we call the amphitheatre, opposite the entrance of the LC. Now, myself and quite a few residents have phoned in on 101. We've been kept waiting sometimes for 15, 20 minutes. It's not necessarily a 999 call. I've been so frustrated that I've actually phoned 999. I've been told by some operators at the 101 call centre to phone 999, and the response has been woeful. In particular, it's the late response, whether we're talking about maybe drug dealing or youth throwing stones down onto Victoria Quay. Lots of other examples I could cite. Now, when the police turn up 40 minutes later, an hour later, hour and a half, you know, it does lead to frustration by a lot of residents here. And I understand that your resources are stretched. I understand you're dealing with lots of things, and of course, COVID and all the rest of it. But what would you say we should do if we start getting the minor antisocial problems? Ring 101 and wait for 40 minutes, or ring 999 to get instant response?
What I would ask, and it would be something I will discuss with the operators, is where there is an opportunity for yourselves to contact the arena directly, the management in the arena directly, if there are issues relating to the arena. On a wider scale, as I said, you know, this matter I'm speaking to you today, this application has been discussed on its merits. I don't want to go into any detail in terms of other issues regarding the marina. The processes are in place. We do our best to get out to and resolve issues of antisocial behaviour as quickly as we can. But as I said, in relation to this application, it's been dealt with on its merits. I'm hoping that with the different agencies and partners and the operators themselves collectively, we will have some answers for you in terms of any issues you should have. But that is a direct result of the arena, not just general antisocial behaviour that is going on in the locality. Because I'll be honest, some of the issues cannot and will not be able to be attributed to the arena, because it isn't all going to be their fault in that area. There is a responsibility on the police. We will work with you, and we would urge you just to contact us in the usual manner.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions for South Wales Police. A point I will raise is that when the applicant section comes, I think there may be answers to some of the questions in what they put forward. Therefore, as we move into the resident response section now, the reps, perhaps you should give that consideration for after the applicant stage, that some of your reps may be answered in that way. But nevertheless, let's move into the rep stage. I have a list of 5 persons who have responded to the notice. I intend to call Mr. P. Lewis first, if you're happy with that, Mr. Lewis. Again, as I set out in the opening, all of the representations have been included within the package, and therefore this would be for you to expand, if you so wish, on what you have already said. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. You are on mute, Mr. Lewis.
Mrs.
Which Mr. Lewis, please?
Mr. Alan Lewis.
Right. I wasn't sure whether you said P. Lewis.
Alan P. Lewis.
Yeah, there may be another P. Lewis about. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to address this hearing. Is that okay? I've got a lot of noise from the arena build at the moment, so my apologies. Thank you for allowing me to address this hearing. Firstly, I would like to comment on the problem of noise. There can be no doubt that Victoria Quay is a unique place. The 6-metre high revetment wall and cobblestone surface testifies to that fact. Unfortunately, these unique features also greatly exacerbate any noise in and around Victoria Quay. I have invited this committee to view the location for themselves to fully appreciate the situation in Victoria Quay. The only footpath along Victoria Quay is located on the marina side of the flats. This will not be known to arena visitors who are not fully conversant with the layout of the marina. Certainly not at 2:30 in the morning. Excuse me. Due to our road's width, lorries regularly have to reverse its length. It is a cul-de-sac. What goes down Victoria Quay must make a return trip, double the traffic, double the noise. A representative of the Highways Department did an on-site visit. They are concerned with the late night noise and congestion caused by arena traffic. 2,500 people will generate a lot of traffic. During the meeting, we had to seek the safety of private land to get out of the way of a reversing lorry. Even the Highways Department did not think there would be a 2:30 a.m. finish. Otherwise, it would have been on their original proposals. In my written response to this licence, I have pointed out how Swansea Council are already fully aware of the fact that late night traffic is a known disturbance along Victoria Quay, for they send out apologies for the disturbance on polling days. Please do not exacerbate a known problem by allowing this licence application. I now turn to the arena itself. In my additional information I sent you last week, I included a colour photograph of the testing of part of the digital skin. The photograph was taken from my bedroom window, where I am today. In all meetings, the council representatives that we raised concerns over this digital skin, we were told there would be reduced density of lighting along Victoria Quay. I would like to ask this committee if they think the council have lived up to that promise. Maybe you should look at the report I was refused access to. If the reduced lighting along Victoria Quay was stated in the planning application, then that should be looked into also. In my written response, I have demonstrated how bright the digital skin of the arena is going to be with only a section of the skin operational. I have stated what constitutes a statutory nuisance. I am sure the Environmental Department of Swansea Council can confirm what constitutes a statutory nuisance with regard to lighting issues. The digital skin in its present form is unwelcome and I believe constitutes a nuisance. This licence should be put on hold until a full independent study of the effects of the arena and its digital skin will have on local residents has been undertaken. It is much better to be safe than sorry. The arena attendees. 2,500 people leaving the arena at 2:30 in the morning with all the will in the world will not go quietly. Remember, our bedrooms are less than 21 metres from the development. In section J, sale of alcohol, the box both is ticked, i.e. to be able to sell alcohol for both on-site and off-site consumption. So there must be an intention to sell alcohol for off-site consumption. I expect that means bottles and cans. Unfortunately, it would be left to others to protect, control, and suffer the actions of thousands of people leaving the arena, possibly carrying alcohol in the early hours of the morning. All I am asking for is to be allowed to sleep in peace at night, which I believe is the right of every Swansea resident. Unfortunately, the proximity and design of the arena will not allow that to happen if this licence request is granted. This licence request is not for 50 people. It's not even for 150 people. This licence request is for thousands of people. Their possible actions and the effect it will have on local residents should be held to a great deal of scrutiny with respect to the concerns stated today and in written submissions. In my written submission, I have provided photographic, historic, and factual evidence to support my application, my objection. I thank the committee for their consideration of my response and allowing me to address this hearing. Thank you very much.
Yes. Mr. Edwards, would you now like to provide your additional information? Gareth Edwards.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, without going over the stuff that Mr. Lewis has offered as evidence, I'm very, very concerned about this. Obviously, the numbers involved. The thing that really took myself and others by surprise is I attended many meetings with the council and the Buckingham Group and all its representatives from the very beginning. And not once did they mention anything about an event finishing after midnight, actually. It was told from the very beginning, and we all believed this, that the events would be finishing around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, possibly 11:30. Can you imagine our surprise when we found out about an event finishing after midnight and 2 o'clock, 2:30? Can you imagine how we felt when we were told that not only would these events be finishing at those times, they'd be selling alcohol and off license, and also the fact they were live DJ events. Now, it goes without saying, a live DJ events really appeal to the very young, I would say, and obviously I say very young, under 30s. Many of the people who would go to this event would vacate Wine Street. And I'm sure you all know what Wine Street is like on a Friday and Saturday night. They will all end up in the arena for more drinks, being absolutely intoxicated coming out of there, the vast majority of them. And if anybody agrees with that, we live in a different world. And all the associated problems that would cause. Now, in my particular instance, I live 9.5 meters from the 3 tunnels that come out onto Victoria Quay. I live 7 meters from the revetment wall with the walkway across the top. And lots of people along Victoria Quay, apart from being in close proximity to those tunnels, will have problems with people walking across the revetment wall. So as you can see, it's a case of the time of finishing, alcohol-related problems, i.e. antisocial, and all things connected with the finishing and the type of license that's been applied for. Now, the other thing as well is below me, pretty much level, I don't know, halfway down the wall, I suppose, there's a child living next to the tunnels. Now, of course, our bedrooms back on the Victoria Quay, facing those tunnels and the revetment wall. You can imagine the noise is only a small percentage of drunk revelers come from the the arena, and come through those tunnels or across the top of the revetment wall, very much intoxicated. So for anybody to say, well, yeah, we'll sort the problems out when it happens and all that, and I know Lisa Martin, our last meeting, said that, and I think Lee Richards did as well. And that's great. If that happens, we have problems regarding all of the common issues we've been talking about, and they are pretty much, everybody, every resident is going to say pretty much the same thing. How it affects us in different ways. Alcohol-related problems. It's a common ground. But from my point of view, and I guess some of the others, if we have problems, and we will have problems, there's no doubt, if Lisa Mart, the ambassador group, the police, and obviously the council say, for instance, we will close the tunnels to stop people coming through that area, disturbing you after midnight, after these late events, then great. That will solve probably a great problem, because they will push the people who want to come onto the marina down toward the LC, where they will probably come onto the marina down there, where there's no residential. So obviously, you know, I will hold Lisa, Mart, Lee Richards and other members to account, really, because they have promised that these problems will be sorted out. I could go on and on. There's lots of things here, and I guess other people will repeat, obviously, some of the things I've said. But I've got quite a few pages of it. I won't go into everything, because they will be very common problems. The other thing as well, I suppose it's going to cause a lot of distress, is if vehicles are allowed to park along Victoria Quay to attend this event, and if we don't get the no waiting, no loading restrictions put in, which is very important in my opinion. And we are left with double yellows, which they've got to give 10 minutes to people waiting. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. Then we will have problems of vehicles parked along Victoria Quay, because obviously if there's a car full of people, say 5 people attending the events of the arena, then a £35 fine, obviously which you would pay after a certain amount of time, is nothing. So obviously, you know, these are the type of things that are going to affect us all along here. The antisocial behaviour I haven't even gone into. We've experienced lots of that, and without repeating myself, that will surely increase. I cannot see how it cannot increase, because alcohol, as we know, spawns antisocial behaviour and lots of other problems. That's all I've really got to say. I'm sure other people will probably repeat some of what I've said and hopefully have new things to say. Thank you. Something's gone on.
Sorry, yes, Mr. Edwards, I'd like to see you notice that you couldn't be here. To repeat myself, I raised my hand at the start of you then, Mr. Edwards, because I should have said, for the benefit of all persons, Mr. Edwards' representations are provided at page 55 and 56 of the bundles. And additionally, in relation to Mr. Alan P. Lewis, his representations were page 80 to 83. Mr. Lewis, I know that you will also say, and because I have a notice here that you are also making your representation on behalf of R.J. Williams, which representations are provided at page 51 and 52. Now, next on my list is Mr. John Willis-Croft. I note that earlier on he had not attended the meeting. Can I confirm if he's now present?
I can't see Mr. Willis-Croft as being in attendance.
Okay, Mr. Willis-Croft's comments were, representations were at page 70 and 71. What I propose to do is to move on to the next 2 representations, and then perhaps we can return to Mr. Willis-Croft later. If not, his comments will be as read, as all of the other 32 representations will be. So therefore, Natalie and Anthony Smith, representation on page 78. Mrs. Smith, would you like to now make your comment?
Yeah, it's Mrs. Smith here, Natalie. I think my representations were quite brief because I know that we have a very strong management company at Squire Court that have put in representations on behalf of us all. But I guess as individuals living again right behind the main part of the arena, I think I summarise what other people have already said, that our main concerns are around the noise from the traffic, around parking, around public disorder. I've got a particular issue, as Mr. Lewis, Alan Lewis has already raised, around the lighting and the lighting pollution that is going to be there till quite early hours of the morning. And in particular, the property I live in, as are the 2 above me, are quite unique actually behind this building, in that it's not just our bedrooms that are affected. My property up until now has been very fortunate in that I have, I'm on the end, so I have a window that comes into my lounge, another window into my kitchen, and another window into my bathroom. And when the testing was going on, my whole property was like Barron's on a 3 a.m. on a midnight. Those digital lights were shining through my lounge window, illuminating my lounge, through my kitchen, illuminating my kitchen, through my bathroom, as well as through my back bedroom. All those windows go on to the hallway. It was pretty horrific, to be honest. Also, because I'm on the end, we have these lovely glass balconies we're very privileged to have in our block. Those lights were shining onto the glass at the end of my balcony, and dancing very prettily along the metal railings, which you can imagine, if you're having that into the early hours of the morning, is pretty sickening, to be honest. So my question is, please, what are you going to do about that? Because that is a real disturbance, you know, in my own house, in my own property. I don't want it. It's horrendous. And I look right out onto the digital platform from all of my windows. And that's just totally unacceptable. You know, you might put up with it till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, although you don't really want to, but to have that until the early hours of the morning is just totally unacceptable. Also a question around privacy, because it used to be that retainment wall at the back, people would only sort of get up to that level if they knew the path was there to walk along. But obviously that now is the level at which people are going to be standing around, coming out of these events and also going into them. And as everybody else has said, that is straight onto our bedroom windows, and people are going to be straight at that level. You know, and I've looked at some of the plans where it seems to be that people will be directed from that level down and out, which then creates a problem at ground level. But that is a concern of me, really, is privacy when I look straight out onto that level. When I first moved into the flats, I didn't realise that there was a path behind there, and had a really unfortunate experience once of being in my bedroom after not long coming out of the bathroom to see a man stood there looking at me out the retainment wall, because I didn't realise there was a path behind there. You know, and now we're going to have thousands of people walking along there, just staring into our bedrooms. And I just think, you know, to the early hours of the morning, again, that's just totally unacceptable. And I suppose my question is, you know, these are our homes. This is, you know, at the end of our garden, and with everybody else from, you know, from the arena and, you know, the council, everybody, would you really want this at the bottom of your garden? You know, at the bottom of your garden, would you want 3,000 people walking past at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? I guess your answer is no. Well, neither do we really. So that's my summary.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
And sorry, before I finish, and you know, I'd be quite more than happy for somebody from the development to come to my property and look out my windows and see the digital skin, or to actually come here and experience what it's like when those lights are flashing in the middle of the night through all 5 of your windows that come onto your property. I think it's quite unique being here on the end. You know, everybody else has got the same issues, but it's quadrupled really when you've got all your windows looking out onto that.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'm loath to make comment at this stage, because I feel that the applicant may intend to cover these points when they deal with them. You're right to raise the light matters, because they can be an element of nuisance. However, if the word that we should look for, the committee should look directly at the 4 objectives as part of this licence. I don't know whether or not the light matters perhaps should be dealt with towards a planning aspect. Perhaps we can return to that point when we see what the applicant has to say with regards to hours of usage and such. If we then move on to Mr. Spencer Simmons. Mr. Simmons, you're on mute. Mr. Simmons, you're still on mute.
Hello.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I won't go on to too much of what Alan and indeed Gareth and Natalie have said, but you have just commented that you're not certain whether light pollution does come under the licensing rules. Well, if you read some of the local government literature, they will say, and it is quite, light pollution Excessive, inappropriate, artificial light, especially moving, is affecting human life and nature. That's in their remit. And they say that excessive use of inappropriate light is a nuisance. And so, therefore, it is a public nuisance. And it is one of the objectives of the 4 regarding the arena. So I think it should be subjected to scrutiny. When, not wanting to go over too much from years ago, when this project was first mooted in 2017, or when we got involved in 2017, they mentioned about lights, not LED, and we said that we wanted no lights facing Squire Court. They accepted that. In August of 18, they put out a letter and an email, of which I've got proof, that said they were looking towards some kind of LED effect for lighting above the entrance to the arena. No mention of 70,000 lights, no mention of it being 360 degrees. Then the next thing we heard, it was 70,000 lights. If that has since gone up to 93,000 lights, because they want indeed to have it move it, so it can move. So if with 70,000 lights, I don't think they can get the effect. So now we are subject to 93,000 lights. And we have never, ever, ever been consulted on these lights. That's just one. So that is one. But the other second part of light pollution is light trespass. And this is well documented, whereby lights from one source can be reflected into the rooms of others. Natalie has just explained what it's like with Blackpool illuminations. And this can be, especially moving lights flickering on your wall, can cause problems with vision. So therefore, it is public health. And this has to be addressed. And this, the actual license should not go through, as Alan has said, until this process of lighting has been addressed. Anyway, let's just go back to the alcohol part now, as that is a main concern. The alcohol license is for, I believe, from 10 o'clock in the morning till with the late night till 2:30 every day of the week. Now, we had meetings with Lisa Maud and the council, and they are restricting themselves to 12 late night events a year, which can be on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or a bank holiday Monday, but not on 2 consecutive nights. Why then are they going to be allowed to have a blanket license up to 2:30 every day of the year just to cover 12 events? Surely it is much better to give them a statutory license up to, say, 11:30, and then a special license for the 12 events that they're going to have over and above. Because once they have been given that license, the hardest thing to do is to take something off them. And once they've got that, if they want to, which they probably will do, want to increase, if they're successful, increase the number of late night things, the alcohol license will already be in place, so it'll make the process much easier. Now, the final content I will make, because it is part of public nuisance and it is part of the arena because it's been caused by the arena, and that is the walkway behind Squire Court. We have numerous discussions, again, right from with Rivington Land going back to 2017, when we wanted this walkway removed. We have been given so many lies about why this walkway was kept in. It is untrue. We have been told that Cadw wanted it kept in because it was part of the heritage. I spoke to Cadw myself. I've got written documents to say they have got no interest in that walk whatsoever. It is only the revetment walk that they're interested in, and the coal drop to the other side in between the Squire Court and your court. That is where their real line of that is where it finishes. They said that, we can't do anything with public footpaths and everything, and yet they're quite happy when it suits them to create 3 tunnels instead of 1 tunnel. I'm not saying that that's not a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that when the council, it suits them to do something, they'll do it. If it doesn't suit them, they won't. But if we want something, we never get considered. And that's been all the way along this process. That is why we get here now, when unfortunately Lisa Mort comes in now as a manager, and she has to deal with all these problems because we just do not trust Swansea Council. It's as simple as that. And that is because there is no trust between the two of us, unfortunately. And that is the main criticism I've got of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Just a point for me to clear up in relation to what I said. I was loath to comment. I think there's elements lost in communication. I started out by saying that light nuisance is a nuisance, and I can specifically, just so that I think you believed I was saying it wasn't, just so that you're aware, in relation to the I think it's 2018 section 182 guidance, which there was an attachment to in the documents. I'm doing this from memory, let me just check. Point 2.15 refers to public nuisance, sorry, point 2.16 refers to artificial light within that section, okay? So the comments that you've made and or that guidance will all be at the forefront of the members' minds when they give consideration to all of the representations. The point I was making was more so in relation to the planning aspect of it. Thank you. The next person to speak would be returning to Mr. Woolscroft. Can I again check Mr. Woolscroft is present?
I don't see Mr. Woolscroft as being in this meeting.
Well, what I propose, it's now nearly 11:10. The next section would be the applicant section. Perhaps, Chair, you may wish to take a comfort break. Leaving open this section for the moment, in case Mr. Woolscroft were to attend, and then on the return, shall I say 15 minutes? Mark, would you like
10
to
minutes.
propose?
10 minutes, yeah, 10 minutes, fine. Yeah, 15 minutes, there's been about okay, actually, I've got.
15-minute break for us to return back at 11:25. If Mr. Woolcroft is present, then he can provide the representations or additional representations. Otherwise, it can be taken from page 70 to 71. I would propose that everyone to mute the microphone and turn off the camera and to leave the committee running as usual.
Thank you.